All right, I'm just gonna break down this Lauren Gilbert clip real quick. And first thing I want you to pay attention to, super general, is just how low she stays as she moves, right? So kind of the whole time, what we're gonna look at is her being essentially in this like squatted position, right? Everything is super low. There's never a moment where she's like really tall running. It's always low. All right. And then second thing I want you to pay attention to is actually her knees are not getting like this high parallel to the ground, right? They stay relatively low, right? They cycle through, they come up, but they stay relatively low. It's not this like giant high knee drive like a lot of people talk about. And then the last thing I want to pay attention to, and it actually is a little bit better to see this in reverse, is she's not very stiff, right? Like she yields or like kind of gives to gravity, especially at the hip, but also at the ankle and the knee. So if we go backwards, you can kind of see every time she collides with the ground, right? You see this hip just kind of crumple, this knee crumple, this ankle crumple. That's a good thing, right? That actually like allows her to use gravity more. So what that does is that loads into her stretch shortening cycle or kind of her muscles and tendons, right? And then that allows her to kind of pop through all of her steps. All right, so then I want to get into some specifics on like kind of what she does and what makes her fast and so quick off the line. And the first thing I want to pay attention to is actually this back foot. So she's going to use this back foot to false step, right? So she's going to put some weight into that. And why is that important? Is it helps her set up this front leg. Okay, so when we look off of that false step, right? One, she's on this speed pad of her foot. She's not on her toes. She's on that kind of like that arch of the front of her foot. All right, and then from there, what that allows her to do is it allows the shin to drop, right, until it doesn't need to drop anymore. Okay, so she'll come set up, shin drops, and that shin drop once again happens because her hip, right? This hip is hold on, this hip is actually going to go through where her knee is to set her up, right? So it's not this big push off. It's really just this hip driving down, and it's driving down through the knee. Okay. So once her shin gets into place, she's actually going to lock the shin, right? You can notice right here her calf or like her gastroc um, is contracting. So what that's going to do is that's going to allow this shin to be set, all right? And that's going to allow then the femur to move past the knee. So we'll kind of pay attention here as she goes, right? So the shin gets into place and then that upper leg, right? It's popping forward. And that's where she gets so much for pop from, okay, is she's being able to kind of move that femur. I want to go back to the shin again really quickly and this shin drop. Something super important about this, and it's a little bit hard to tell from this angle, is the angle of her foot, right? So this foot is actually kind of turned out, and then that's going to allow the knee to turn in a little bit, and that's is what gives the shin space to drop into, right? So if her toe is straight forward, she's going to have to go over her big toe. That's one that can kind of lead to turf toe, but two, that's going to make you a lot slower, right? And it's not going to let you get that shin into place. Okay. And then the other thing I want to kind of point out last with this false step is she's false stepping, and that back leg is really going to kind of whip through, and it's not pushing and not getting the straight motion, right? When the leg is actually straight, like here, that foot isn't on the ground anymore. So she stays bent through the knee as she goes into this false step, right? Bent, and then she just kind of crumples that knee up, and that's going to allow that hip to get through faster. Okay. And that kind of leads me right. So after this femur rotation, so if we go back to this upper leg rotating over, that's going to allow, and what she's really doing, she's not pushing off, but she's trying to get this swing leg to just kind of pop through, and she's rotating her whole body around this stance leg to get there, right? And then once again, I want to talk about there's not a push off, right? Her leg gets straight here, but at the moment when the leg is straight, you're going to notice right here, there's not really any weight on her foot. So she's not driving down. What's actually happening here is she's letting this foot come up and through, and that's going to let her kind of coil in that leg, and that's going to let her get her leg through faster, right? So really, we're just working on kind of that controlled femur rotation and then trying to pop that opposite hip through.